Can South Africa do justice to the incredible talent they have, or will this be another one of those tournaments? Welcome to the shiny side. I'm your host, Faris, and we have with us from Bahrain, Imran Aslam. Imran, welcome to the show. World Cup starting in a matter of hours now. Do you feel the build up, or do you think it just sprung upon us all of a sudden?
Hi, Faris. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so I think sprung up on us all of a sudden. We're having so many of these ICC tournaments now that I think it doesn't have the same excitement and build-up factor to it as it used to. But I think once we get into it, then we'll have the excitement
I think it was less than 10 months ago that you and I were literally doing a preview of South Africa for an ICC tournament, right? So it's actually that's how fast they're coming now. But
we said we'll do it without the C word. So
yeah, exactly. Well, this time we may use the C word. So let's see. But I think kicking things off, South Africa at the moment, we'll be previewing South Africa today. They're ranked 7th, by the way, in T20Is for what it's worth. I think the rankings don't mean much given a lot of teams don't typically play their first choice 11s. In the last World Cup, T20 World Cup, that is, they failed to qualify after losing to Netherlands, which allowed Pakistan to go through. The one before that, they only lost one game in the round in the UAE, but then they went out on NRR to the eventual champions Australia. That's where South Africa is coming from. Clearly, I mean, the C word, chokers, that's what we all call them. They've only ever won one knockout, I think, ICC knockout game, which was a quarterfinal against Sri Lanka in 2015. That was the ODI format. Generally, they were the team that would always win everything until they came to the knockout. Lately, to be honest, it's not even like they've been topping the tables or anything. So if you look at the talent, though, Imran, it just looks like an incredibly strong side. Like, if you don't know this legacy and the history, on paper, it just feels like season looks like a dream team.
Yeah, definitely does. I mean, the batting that South Africa has, we talked about this in the ODI World Cup, the likes of Klaasen, Miller, they have extremely strong batting hitters throughout the order. They have the batting to easily put up those 200 scores, and they have a good bowling lineup, well balanced, good pace attack, good spinners. So
Good
it is
spinners as
in a
well.
lot of ways. Yeah, exactly. So in a lot of ways, they tick all the boxes. It's something that very close to being a very ideal kind of composition of a T20 side.
So
But for some reason or another, they haven't gone on to win anything.
I have the score up, and as you can see on the screen, there's one glaring thing here which kind of shows you where the squad lacks, perhaps, even before we get into other issues. There's only one person in the middle category in the all-rounder. So they probably have incredibly explosive batsmen who can perhaps bowl a bit, some of them can. They have incredible bowlers, but they have very few all-rounders, with Jansen perhaps being the only one in this category. When we did the Australia preview, there were 4 names in that list. And I think that's where they probably struggle to balance the side a little bit.
Yeah, they've had this issue for a while now. I think South Africa used to be the side that had a like excess of all rounders in the Callis Pollock era, but I think for the past few years they've had this problem. Had a similar issue in the last ODI World Cup as well. So this will be a bit of a problem, but I think they've got some bowling cover in the top 6 that they can bring in, and then
I mean, Markram bowls a bit of off spin for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So they will have to use that. But yeah, it will be a bit of a problem for them to get their 11 balance.
And if you look at the recent form, right? So if you look at the IPL, I guess, but that just happened. Klaasen averaged 40 at a strike rate of 170. Incredible performer for SRH. They scored 250 plus multiple times. Then you had Tristan Stubbs, who also, by the way, were averaging 54 at a 190 strike rate. So incredible IPL. On the other hand, you have guys like Quinton de Kock, who only averaged 20 at a 130 strike rate, so very ordinary. And Aiden Markram, even though his side did really well, SRH, he only averaged 24 at a 140 strike rate. And by the way, one guy who's not in the mix is Faf du Plessis, who's also averaging 30 at a 160 strike rate, right? So anyway, the point being, if you look at it, the top 6 looks super solid. Klaasen and Stubbs, incredible numbers coming from the IPL. De Kock and Markram, not so much, but this is a different beast. And it still looks like they'll put out an incredibly strong top 6.
Yeah, definitely. The top 6 is definitely going to be strong. De Kock, okay, yes, he didn't have a good IPL, but he brings in that experience that you need. He also brings in, and especially in the Caribbean, expecting pitches to be a bit slower maybe than we've seen in previous editions of this tournament. So I think De Kock will be a valuable cog in their wheel. And then they obviously have the explosive talent of Hendricks, Klaasen, Miller. So definitely a very strong top 6 they'll have.
And if you look at the bowlers, right? So Nortje, who's one of my favorite bowlers, by the way, he had a horrid IPL. He I think the stats look something like he took 7 wickets and his economy was 13. He got hammered, and it might affect his IPL future going forward, given the big retentions coming up. Then Rabada and Kudza were okay. The spinners don't play the IPL, but yeah, I think a few form questions for. I mean, they've left Ngidi out also. I think the only notable omission for me was Ngidi, who, especially with Nokia's form, I feel like would have been a good guy to have in the squad, but they've gone for other options. But I think a few concerns around the pace bowling attack around Rabada this time around.
I mean, given everything that we saw in the IPL, Faris, I'm not sure I would read too much into IPL stats for bowlers, especially. I mean, everyone's gone
While I
for
agree with that, I
20.
think even within the IPL stats, Nokia was right at the bottom of those. So it's not like within the IPL himself, he was horrible. 13 economy
Yeah, but
is
no, it is bad for sure. But I think, I mean, Stark had a 10 plus economy as well
true.
across the tournament. So definitely, I think, with the impact player coming in IPL, we've seen batters taking much more risk. So I think I take the bowling stats of the IPL with a grain of salt for sure.
I mean, to be honest, even adjust the batting stats also, right? Because whatever your strike rate
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
I mean,
of course.
I think that the T20 cricket is obviously developing, but we're not going to see IPL kind of scores. I'm not expecting a World Cup where 210 is the average score. It's probably going to be more like 170, 180, perhaps.
Yeah, but if you look into the warm-up so far, West Indies put up, I think, 220 odd yesterday against a depleted Australia, you have to say that, because Australia without Stark and Cummins, but they put up 220 odd. Today, I think India has scored 185 or something.
Yeah, against
So
Bangladesh.
against Bangladesh. So we've seen, we've seen one 200 plus score already,
Yeah.
but I think I agree with you. We probably see the 180s, 180s, 190s a lot more.
Also, I think the other thing is it also depends on where. So New York, we have no idea about. It's a brand new stadium. I think if you look at the West Indies, Antigua has quite a low scoring track. At Guyana takes a lot of spin as well, but like if you're playing at Barbados or St. Lucia, those are super high scoring. So if you look at recent results, that are also. So I think depends on where you're also playing. I mean, US is really no one knows, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But I
think
think if
US
you
is
look at
unknown, but
South Africa's fixtures, by the way, so they are one of the first teams to start. So I think they play a game in a couple of days. They play Sri Lanka in New York. That's probably one of the few. I think it should be an interesting game because we don't know anything about the pitch. But I think Sri Lanka could be somewhat. They're not dark horses for the title, but they are dark horses to kind of upset a team or two. I think they have a couple of new spacers, etc. So I feel like this is tricky start for South Africa. And then they have their bogey team, and Netherlands also in New York. Then they play Bangladesh after that, and then Nepal. So it's this was somewhat of a tricky group, I can say. But South Africa, again, I think if they win 3 games out of 4, they should be okay. But if they lose the first game somehow, then they could just be under a bit of pressure, right? Because they have that history that or that could come back for them.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is that they're playing 3 games in New York, which, as you just said, is a very unknown commodity. So it could be a bit of a challenge for them, playing in a completely unknown stadium, dropping pitches.
It is a relaxed
You have no
schedule in
idea.
terms of travel for sure. But
yeah, but we have no idea how this is going to play out, right? It's a completely new stadium and drop-in pitches, so we don't know what's going to happen. So this could be a bit of a challenge for them.
And if you look at the squad, and if you had to pick 2 players who you think are likely to do really well for them, who would your pick be right now?
I think I'd go with Klassen, one for sure. And I have a feeling Maharaj. Maybe not so much in the first round, but once they go into the Super 8s, right? We're playing Super 8s.
Yeah, go on.
And they move to the Caribbean. I expect the spinners to come in and play a much bigger role. We've seen, the left arm spin being quite vital in the Caribbean. So I expect Maharaj to have a good tournament if and when they get into the second round, especially.
And who do you think is likely to be someone who's going to flop for them, South Africa? Any one player?
Hard to say. I mean, I think Peacock, as you said, he hasn't had a great tournament and he's not a great IPL, and he has not also played a lot of cricket off late.
Yeah.
So, and I know they will be banking on him given his experience and everything, but I think that could be one weak link in their top six.
My picks are very similar to yours. I would go with Klassen for sure. And the other guy I'm backing is actually Shamsi, not Maharaj, because I think Shamsi is the guy who's got the variations and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they're especially going to play him. So I feel like those two are like a key for them. And yeah, to be honest, my prediction for flop was also Quinton de Kock. I think there's lots of other things going on in his life, and I just feel like I think maybe he's not going to come good. But we'll wait and see. I am going to
But they
put
do
up.
have a backup keeper, right, in the
Yeah,
squad.
there's this guy called Rickleton. I'm not sure where he bats, but there's a guy called Rickleton who's a backup
Yeah.
keeper.
Okay.
So if I'm just going to quickly put up what I think is the likely 11, and I'm not sure if you have a different view, but I would love to see that. So I think the likely 11 I see is they're going to open up Quinton de Kock and Hendricks. Roger Hendricks, again, we saw him extensively in the IPL. He was brilliant. Macram is the captain. Klaassen, Miller, and Stubbs. I don't think you can have a better 4, 5, 6 right now in
Yeah, so I
T20
think
cricket.
the top six is pretty much undebatable, right?
Yeah. I mean, even
So
Seven Janssen, right? Like he's the only all-rounder. How could you not play him?
yeah, true. So I think it's a very, I think it's probably one of the easiest 11 picks from the squads because
I mean, I guess the problem here is right now Nokia's in horrible form, so I've left him out, right? But if you want to bring Nokia in, do you leave out Koja who can bat a bit, or do you then leave out one of the two spinners? It depends on the conditions as well, I guess. Yeah. But right now, my
yeah, depending on the
assumption is you will
conditions.
play both Maharaj and Shamsi.
Yeah. Well, I think in the first, but I don't know. See, they're starting off against Sri Lanka and they're
In New
starting off
York,
in
which
New
no one
York.
knows
So
anything about.
we don't know much about New York, but you do know Sri Lanka, and I might be inclined to go in with 3 quicks against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, true.
And then, depending on how New York plays, you decide the rest of the game. So I think I would lean on going in with 3 quicks, and the out and out pace of Nortje. Sri Lanka has shown a bit of a weakness against quality pace,
Yeah.
against a good short ball attack. So I'd be inclined to go in with 3 quicks in the first game and then see how it goes from
Well,
there.
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And so I'm not sure if you've seen how the groups are set up, but basically, once you make it to the next round, if you do, it's all already seated which group you'll be in. If South Africa makes it,
Yeah.
their Super 8 group will actually be, assuming these teams make it, England, West Indies, Pakistan. So it'll be England, West Indies, Pakistan, South Africa, and two of them who move forward, assuming the other three make it. And on the other side is likely to be Australia, India, New Zealand, and Sri Lanka, actually. So I mean, let's see how it plays out. But again, and the way the format is, all you have to do is make it to the next round. You don't carry forward any points. So essentially, South Africa needs to make sure they don't lose more than a game and they'll be through.
Where does Afghanistan slot in if they make it?
So it's a very good question. Afghanistan are in the same group as the Windies and New Zealand. If they make it, whichever team does not make it, they will make. So if the West Indies doesn't make it, Afghanistan will end up in the South Africa Pakistan's half. If New Zealand does not make it, then they will end up in the other half. So I think Afghanistan, to be honest, I mean, their odds are pretty good too. If they were in any other group for that matter,
I wouldn't write them off. I wouldn't write them off.
Especially if the pitches are spinning friendly and so on and so forth. And another point people have been making is the West Indies ground. They don't have massive squares with 17 pitches like a lot of other grounds do. So they will be reusing a lot of the same pitches. So eventually, as you go on in the tournament, the tracks, the pitches will become a bit slower. They'll probably take a bit of spin, and that probably will bring some teams into it. But how far do you see them go, Imran, South Africa? What's your prediction?
I don't see them going beyond the Super 8s.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. See, I mean, this is like if you go with West Indies, England, Pakistan, and South Africa in the group, right? Assuming there's no upset, right? I see it very hard for them making it past West Indies and England. West Indies on home soil is going to be definitely a very tough opponent. With the batting they have an endless lineup of 6 hitters who just keep coming in and keep hitting it out of the park without any problems. So they have that going for them. And England obviously is in good form. They've shown against us in the couple of T20s that we had. They're definitely in good form. So if things go this way, I would most likely think that West Indies and England would be the two teams going in from this half.
Well, if New York starts spinning a lot, I mean, South Africa, if they lose Sri Lanka, who knows if they'll be in the Super 8 for that matter, right? I mean, by the way, I personally think there'll be some of the big six will not make it to the next round for sure. I don't know who, it could be even Pakistan for that matter, but I feel like somebody will struggle. Yeah.
There will be some upsets for sure. I think Afghanistan definitely has potential of pulling a surprise. Sri Lanka, you never know with them as well. They haven't had a great run the last couple of years, but they're pulling a surprise. So Ireland always causes an upset or two in the World Cup, so there
Yeah,
will be
just
some upsets for sure. I
one
think in
more
the
thing on
first
South
round.
Africa. In the Super 8s, they actually play one game in against Pakistan in Antigua. Antigua is the most low-scoring ground in the West Indies. So from
Mm,
South
yeah,
Africa's style, that doesn't really suit them. And if anything, against a team
yeah,
like Pakistan, who very happy playing those 160, 170 games, it perhaps brings
yeah,
Pakistan into it as well. So that doesn't really work in
yeah,
South
definitely.
Africa's favor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we do have a decent record against them
Yeah.
in
South
T20 World
African
Cup.
fans
Actually,
are
very good
wondering
record
why
against them.
Imran Aslam is their correspondent on Shiny side, because he just said he's not going to make it to the semifinals.
Well,
But
I was very bullish of their chances in the ODI World Cup. Yeah, they did make it to semi as well.
yeah.
But this time, given how things are set up, and especially that giving, I am personally giving West Indies a very strong chance for making it to the last four.
Okay, good stuff, Imran. Thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure, Faris. Happy to be here.
And for those of you watching, if you have a view on which team you think is likely to, where South Africa likely to finish, please leave a comment. And what do you think the best 11 should be? And we'll be back with some more previews in the next couple of days. In the meantime, stay tuned to the Shiny Side.